Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvenavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. We shall chant together Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verses 16 to 20.
द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्मात्क्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेवमसम्मूढः जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत.
In the last class, we had completed up to shloka number 17. In fact, in these shlokas, 16, 17 and 18, he gives the entire deep philosophy here. He talks about Brahman and he uses Trinity to explain the concept of Brahman. Education is to move from known to the unknown. What is known to us is the world. So he starts from the world. He says, what is known to you is world, and world is nothing but Nama Rupa, the names and forms. The entire Stula Prapancha and Sukshma Prapancha. The Stula Prapancha, the gross elements, and the Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle elements. Those of you who attended our Tattva Bodha class, which we took long time ago, again we are doing it now. I think during COVID or something, I did Tattva Bodha class once. So there he discusses all this. First from Maya, the Sukshma Prapancha comes, subtle elements. Then the gross elements come about after it goes through the process called Panchi Karana. So the entire manifested world, Vyakta, you understand that, which is manifested. What he calls as Shara, perishable, right? All this is perishable. The entire gross and subtle worlds, Stula, Sukshma, Prapancham, they are Karya. Karya means the product, the effect. Karanam is the cause. So in shloka number 16, he says there are these two Purushas, beings in the world, the perishable and the imperishable, Kshara and Akshara. Perishable is all beings, which is what I said, the entire subtle and gross worlds. And the imperishable is called Kutastha. The word Kutastha means immutable, but here it has a very particular meaning. The kutastha means that which deceives. You understand? In this context here, Gughuta means that which deceives, right? The deceiving character. So Maya is deceiving, right? It appears to be there, it doesn't exist. So Akshara here refers to, that Kutastha here refers to what? The relatively unchanging phenomenon, not the absolutely unchanging phenomenon, and that is called Maya, the substratum. The Maya is called Karanam. From Maya comes the Karya, and Maya is called Upadana Karanam, the material cause. Right? So, that is avyaktam. It is unmanifest. It is not seen. It's not available for your senses, mind, even intellect. Maya is even beyond intellect. So, it's Upadana Karanam. And it is beginningless. You can't say, when did this Maya begin? Vedanta says it is beginningless. You can't say, at this time Maya began. You understand? So, therefore, it doesn't have any independent existence. Something that has independent existence only you can talk about. It doesn't have any independent existence. What is there is Brahman. You are seeing Brahman as the world due to Maya. So you can't say when. That's why in Vedanta we say, when did this world begin? The answer given for that is, when you woke up this morning. You can't say it began at this time. Because we are talking about the world itself, which is made up of time, space, causation. So how can you say time began at particular time? This is a fallacy. So therefore, we say very clearly in Vedanta, Maya is Anadi. Brahman is also Anadi. Maya is also Anadi. That is Akshara Purusha. That is Maya, the Upadana Karanam. Then he said, there is something beyond that. He said in 17. And he said, but the highest Purusha being is another. Uttama Purusha Anya, called the Supreme Self. Right? Paramatma. Which is the indestructible Lord, who pervades and sustains the three worlds. So, when he talks about Brahman, he introduces it in three stages. Trinity. First, Kshara, perishable. Then Akshara, imperishable, the Maya. Then he says, Uttama Purusha is beyond Kshara and Akshara. And that is also Karanam. But what Karanam? Nimitta Karanam or Vivarta Karanam. Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Means what? Creating something without undergoing any change in itself. Like, we'll have to bring the example of rope and the snake. The existence of rope creates the potential of not understanding rope as a rope and misunderstanding it as a snake. Rope doesn't undergo any change. So, without undergoing a change, it creates the world. Right? That is what is called as what? Uttama Purusha. The cause. When we say Brahman is the cause, you have to understand it is Nimitta Karanam. Nimitta Karanam means what? It is Sakshi Swarupam. You understand? It is Sakshi Swarupam. It is not, it's a witnessing Chaitanya, Sakshi Chaitanya. It is witnessing. In its presence, the Maya has brought about this universe. Now, when Maya brings about the universe, what sustains it? Brahman sustains it. Brahman is that which exists. The existence principle is Brahman. Right? It lends the existence principle to the Maya and the created product as it were. That is what he calls as Bibharti. It sustains. What does it sustain? All the three worlds it sustains. Isn't it? So he says, sustains the three worlds. What are the three worlds? Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. That is one way of understanding. The higher loka, our world, and the lower. Other is waking, dream, deep sleep. The other way of looking at it is gross, subtle, and causal. Whichever way you look, all these are sustained by Brahman. We are getting this feeling that this actually exists. That existence principle is borrowed from Brahman. See, for this, we generally discuss one example. Now, when you heat a crowbar, iron rod, right? What happens to that iron rod? It becomes hot and also it spreads light around. Isn't it? Now, you're using fire to heat the iron rod. It does two things. First, it becomes hot and it also spreads light around. When you heat water in a vessel, it becomes hot, but does it spread light around? So Brahman is both existence and conscious principle. So in this universe, the jivas, the individuals, and all the other beings, they express both existence and conscious principle. Right? But the non-living beings, they only express the existence principle. They merely exist. Like how when the fire is heating the crowbar, it expresses both the heat and light, which is the principles of fire. But when it is used to heat the water, right, boiled water, it only absorbs the heat. So like that, the existence principle is borrowed from Brahman. Existence is not part of this world. The world is not really existing, but seems to exist. Right? So Brahman is lending its existence principle to Maya and this entire world. So it seems like real. Do you understand? And therefore he says, it is that which sustains the three worlds. And even though it is lending its existence principle and making it appear as if it is existing, right, it remains as Lord, unaffected by all these things. When you have projected snake over the rope, nothing happens to the rope. Right? Similarly, when this whole universe has come about, manifested, nothing happens to Brahman. It remains the Lord. Lord means not affected by anything. Ishvaraha. That's what he said in verse number 17. He said, but the highest Purusha being is another called the Supreme Self, Paramatma, which is indestructible Lord. These are all things that get destroyed. Ultimately, even vasanas are completely gone. Maya also goes when you wake up and realize the self. But Brahman remains. And it is that which pervades this universe as the substratum, right? And sustains the three worlds. Lends its existence principle and makes it look real for you. You understand? So this is what we discussed in shloka number 16 and 17. Now in 18, he is going to talk about this Uttama Purusha a little more. So let us chant verse number 18.
यस्मात्क्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः.
As I transcend the perishable and I am even higher than the imperishable. I am therefore proclaimed in the world and in the Veda as Purushottama, supreme being. Uttama Purusha, when you put it in a different order, it is called Purusha Uttama, the supreme being. I transcend both the perishable and the imperishable world. I am higher than all this and therefore proclaimed in the world, means people in the world, and in the Vedas, especially Vedas means Veda Antbhag called Vedant. I am proclaimed as what? Uttama Purusha. I am called as Uttama Purusha. So he is saying it is Atita. Atita, we always use this word Atita. We say Sattva Atita, beyond Sattva. Guna Atita, beyond Gunas. Maya Atita, beyond Maya. Beyond Kshara and Akshara. Kshara Akshara Atitatvam is Brahman. So, what is Atitatvam? Means what? Understanding that this world is perishable and lower, right? Lower order of reality. And the highest order of reality is Brahman. We talked about Paramarthika Satyam, Vyavaharika Satyam, and Pratibhasika Satyam. You remember, Pratibhasika Satyam is when you are in dream. Example, daydreaming. Whatever you are going through is only real for you. Rest of us are not experiencing it. But in the waking state, all of us are experiencing something. And that is called Vyavaharika Satyam. Practical level, relative level reality. Then Paramarthika Satyam, absolute level reality. And that is only Brahman. You understand? Children play with toys. For them it's very real. Right? They get involved in their toys, in their game. Whatever they play, they get involved. They are so serious. Now when you play, you know that it's lower level, lower order. You don't get involved. We all play the game Monopoly. With children, maybe sometimes, during Corona time, maybe many people played Monopoly and all the other kind of games, right? Especially snakes and ladders, everybody played. Now children get excited. Now you don't get excited. Why? You know that it is of lower order. Children don't know. For them it's something higher. So that Atitatvam, I am beyond all this. Because of your ignorance, you overpowered by Maya, the whole thing is being created. I am beyond all this. Nothing happens to me. So it is Paramarthika Satyam. And this is declared in the world. And in the world, it's declared in the Upanishads. Vedanta Bhag. Veda means Vedanta Bhag. Right? Vedas are split into two bhagas. We've discussed this before, but for some new people, I'm just explaining this. Veda Purva Bhag, Veda Anta Bhag. Mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. These four parts put together is Vedas. Mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka, which mostly emphasize rituals, right? It's called as Veda Purva Bhag. Then comes Veda Anta Bhag, called Upanishads, which contains the philosophy of life and living. That philosophy of life and living is given in Veda Anta Bhag, called Upanishads. You understand? So in the Upanishads, it is declared what? That it is Paramatma. It is beyond all this. It's called Uttama Purusha. It is beyond Kshara and Akshara. Right? In its presence, the Maya produces the world. In the presence of Atma, Brahman, Maya projects the world. You understand? And when all this is happening, nothing happens to me. I remain as the Lord. Already he said, no? And the Lord in the previous sloka. See, there is a story in our Puranas where once when Narad Muni asked, I would like to understand. He asked Lord Vishnu, Narayana, I would like to understand what is samsara. He said, Chalo, let's go for a world tour. So he brought Narad Muni to the world. They came to the earth and they were going around. And Lord said, I'm a little thirsty. There's a river going. Can you get some water for me? When he went there was a beautiful woman. Narad Muni was attracted to her. And he proposed, she accepted. And they got married. Right? And then they got children. And they got into samsara. No school admission. You understand? Fees kaun pay karega. They got into all these kind of issues. They got into big trouble. So Narad Muni said, Oh Narayana, please save me from samsara. Then Lord said, where is my water? The story ends. What it means is, this samsara is only for you, samsari. From Brahman point of view, no samsara, nothing. It is atitatva. It is beyond all this that you and me are experiencing. That's why he says all this is of lower order. From the absolute, they don't exist. Right? So as I transcend the perishable, and I am even higher than the imperishable, I am therefore proclaimed in the world and in the Veda as Purushottama. And when he keeps on saying, I'm even beyond Akshara, you also need to understand it from a totally different angle, which Swamiji beautifully explains. How do you explain a physically challenged person from birth who's living in a city like Manhattan in US, in the 140th floor? Okay. And he doesn't know what mud is, let's say. And he's asking, what is mud? So you show in the balcony a few pots and say, you see these pots? This is mud. So then he understands the form and shape and form and name as mud. Then you say, no. I break this. When I break this, that material with which this is made, not the form and name, that is mud. Then he understands mud only with reference to that particular pot, that much. Then you say, no, this very building is made up of mud. And this very building is standing on mud. And there is vast expanse of mud. Understand? So, Brahman is huge in that very little proportion, right, has become this world. And beyond it, it exists. Right? So to explain this, Swamiji beautifully explains. He says, the person only knows the pots. He's sitting on the 142nd floor. He doesn't know anything. From there, you have to explain the mud. Right? So first you say the pot. And then he misunderstands rather, as that is the name and form is mud. Then you say, no, break it, with which it is made. And it is not just that, it is spread everywhere. Similarly, to us, what is known to us, this world, which is names and forms. So first they say, these names and forms are nothing but Brahman, God. Right? Then they say, no, this is not God. Once you understand that, then they say, you should not misunderstand as names and forms as God. That which supports it, that changeless principle underneath that is Brahman, that Atman. But there again, you are understanding Atman only with reference to that name and form. In that sense, you are conceiving it, and in that sense, you are limiting it to the world. Brahman cannot be limited to the world. Therefore, they say, no. You cannot try to understand Brahman from the world. We try to explain to you from this concept. Kshara, Akshara, Uttama Purusha. Names and forms, substratum. But substratum also you are able to conceive. Which means what? That is also not infinite. It is finite. Therefore, what is it? It is much beyond that. So don't try to conceive it. Don't try to capture Brahman in a test tube and try to understand it intellectually. It is not possible. If you wish to know Brahman, then you should be ready to give yourself fully into it. Otherwise, not possible. Right? It's impossible. Like people, I give this example. People want to celebrate Holi, but they don't want their clothes or body to get wet or colored. How will you enjoy? That fun is there only when you are in it fully, isn't it? Initially, you're saying, no, 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 like that. And they put little color here, little color there, throw. And once you completely get wet, there is now the whole thing is gone. So now you fully get involved. You also totally enjoy. Only when you become like that, you can enjoy, right? From distance, when you see, it's not the same joy that you experience like the fellows who are in it. So, like that, you cannot try to understand Brahman. It's not what you see, but what makes you see. It's not what you hear, but what makes you hear. It's not what you feel, but what makes you feel. It's not what you think, but what makes you think. It's not what you understand, what makes you understand. Intellect gets the ability to make you grasp, understand. That ability itself, it gets from Brahman. When Atman enlivens it, it gets it. Right? So therefore, intellect cannot understand Brahman. So, first, they don't directly say you can't understand Brahman. Then what will happen to that fellow? Right? He wants to understand God. So first you say these names and forms are nothing but Brahman. Then he may misunderstand this world as Brahman. Limits it to that. Then he says, no, no, no. It's the material cause. Right? That is Brahman, not these names and forms. These are perishable. Then you say, oh, now I understand God. The moment you say I understand God, means you have limited it. Then that is not God. And they say it is beyond. Means what? Now you should be ready, if you want to understand God, you should be ready to lose the individuality. If you are not ready to lose the individuality, it's not possible to know God. So therefore we say you cannot know God, you can only become God. Become God also is a borrowed term, because you are already God. What is there to become from that angle? You understand? So this projection called the jiva, the individual, with the knowledge has to dissolve. Then what remains is Brahman. So therefore he says it is Uttama Purusha. You understand? So therefore, from the known to the unknown to the unknowable. Unknowable means what? You can only become that. You understand? For that, so slowly, when a person, initially if you say unknowable, as it is, nobody comes to the class. Right? Who wants to understand God, Gita and all? Right? So now, so therefore, first God is this world. Then people just get involved in it as if that is everything. No, no, no. God is beyond it. There's the material cause. Oh, there's the material cause. Then they think they've captured God in their intellect. They think they've evolved. Then Upanishad say, no, no, no. You have to go beyond it also. In the Kena Upanishad, he says, Yadi manyase suvedeti nona vedeti vedach. Beautiful shloka is there. Mantra is there in the Kena Upanishad. If you think you have understood God, you have not understood this. What you have understood is your thoughts. God is far beyond it. Don't try to understand. Try to dissolve yourself and become that. Right? And that is Brahman. That is Atman. Only then can you experience that Brahman. Till then you are only talking about it. Our idea should be to get that transformation, not stop at mere intellectual understanding. So it is beyond Kshara, Akshara. It is both transcendent at the same time immanent. Is what this chapter was talking about, right? He says, no, I pervade and sustain the world, yet I am beyond it. Rope pervades wherever you touch the snake. Isn't that rope? Does rope pervade the entire snake or not? Right? Rope pervades the entire snake. And the snake gets that, the snake exists because actually the rope only exists. The existence principle of the rope is lent borrowed by the snake. Right? Therefore, it appears the snake exists. So that way, who is sustaining the snake? Rope is sustaining. Rope pervades the snake. Rope sustains the snake, and yet rope is beyond the snake. Isn't it? When you know the rope, you don't get affected by the snake. Snake can do nothing to you. So, what is the reason I need to understand all these things? What is the greatness of this knowledge? And what is the fruit of this knowledge? That he explains in sloka number 19 and 20.
यो मामेवमसम्मूढः जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद्भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत.
He says, Yaha means whoever. Janati knows me. Thus, whoever knows, yo mam janati. Whoever knows me, thus, how? As what I explained to you in 16, 17 and 18. They are undeluded people. So the undeluded who knows me thus as Purushottama, supreme being, they are all undeluded. See, deluded we are in terms of what is dharma, what is adharma. In terms of what is shreya, what is preya. What is good for us, what is pleasing to us. We are all deluded. Right? So we don't know the right from the wrong. So he says, we are all deluded people. Whereas those people who understands this, Kshara, Akshara, Uttama Purusha, Brahman is beyond all this. And that is their original nature. This whole world is an expression of that divinity. Due to Maya and all these things, when you understand, you become undeluded. So the undeluded who knows me, meaning Brahman, the reality, the pure consciousness, thus, as explained in sloka number 16, 17, 18, as what? Purusha Uttama, Uttama Purusha, supreme being. That person is called Sarvavit. Means what? All knowing. Now this all knowing means what? What does it mean? Does it mean that he should know everything? Physics, chemistry, biology? Everything you should know. Oh, you are a jnani. You should know everything. You should know my past, present and future. Tell me what I was in my past janma. What is going to happen to me in this janma in the next 10 years? What will I be born as in the next janma? You expect that Mahatma should know all these things because you are a Sarvavit. No? Right? See, Sarvavit means he knows what ought to be known. And what ought to be known is Atma. So he is Sarvatmavit. He is not Sarva Anatmavit. This whole prapancha is Anatma. It's like kaleidoscope. We make our own kaleidoscopes in school. We're told to make it. So what do? You get all the old bangles, glass bangles, and all other glass pieces. You crush them to small, small powder pieces. And then you make this kaleidoscope. And in that kaleidoscope, every time you rotate it, different designs. Kaleidoscopic patterns, innumerable patterns emerge out of it. Isn't it? So, innumerable possibilities happen. And they don't care. All belong to one category. What is the point in knowing Whatever it is, I'm ready to face because it is fake. It's not real. What importance needs to be given at the time, I'll give it. But why should I know about it? So sarva with does not mean sarva atma anatma with. It means sarva atma with. Sarva sara with. They know the essence of everything is Brahman. Pure consciousness is that which enlivens the beings of the past, is that which enlivens the beings in the present, is that which will enliven the beings in the future. In that sense, it is the knowing principle in everything. In all knowledge, whatever knowledge that is there, it is the knowing principle. See, he already said, no? In what sloka? I think it's sloka number 15. He said, I am smriti jnanam apohanam. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Memory, jnanam, apohanam. It is the pure consciousness that becomes the waking, dream and deep sleep state as it were. Isn't it? I am apohanam. Apohanam means forgetfulness. In deep sleep, do you remember anything? You remember? You don't remember anything. But in deep sleep, the vasanas are there. What is enlivening the vasanas? Pure consciousness. Right? So pure consciousness is that which underlines the vasanas, subtle body, gross body, individual and total both. Right? So in that sense, sarva with. And he beautifully says in the shloka here, he says that such people who are sarva with worships me with his whole being. Sarva bhave. Beautifully he says, they worship me in total. Sarva bhava. What does it mean? Sarva bhava worshipping means. He says, no, sarva with bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. O Bharata, O Arjuna. O Bharata refers to Arjuna. Arjuna, he says sarva with bhajati mam sarva bhavena, with the total bhava. What does it mean? What is this total bhava? Initially, you understand God as someone who give you boons. So you go to God and say, oh God, please solve this problem. Oh God, please solve me this problem, that problem. Give me wealth. Get rid of these problems. You are Artharthi and Jnani. Sorry, Artharthi and Artha. Isn't it? Majority of people go to God for what? Asking for wealth or solve my problem. This is what is causing me shoka. Get rid of this problem. We want one blessing from Bhagavan. If somebody is the problem, we pray to God, please make sure that either that fellow gets transferred from the city or he gets transferred from this world only. You understand? So this is how we pray. Right? So Artharthi, Artha. Artharthi goes to God for wealth. Artha goes to God to remove sorrow. Right? Then Jignasu, who goes to God for curiosity. You come to these classes and all that to get your curiosity quenched. Then there is real person who goes to God for becoming a jnani. So here when he says sarvatma bhava means in total. I told you, no, he having understood that Brahman is beyond kshara and akshara, he is ready to sacrifice his ego. That sarvatma bhava, he is ready. When the river merges with the ocean, it loses its individuality, it gains the total. So like that he worships. It's not like, that becomes his highest priority. He goes to God for the sake of God. You understand? He goes to God, Brahman, to become Brahman. It is said that when, what is that boy's name? I'm forgetting. Dhruva. Dhruva, when he was meditating upon Lord Narayana, he appeared in front of him and said, Are bhai, oh child, I've come in front of you. Please open your eyes. He said, My mother said you are within me. You come within. I'm not opening my eyes. That is Sarvatma Bhav, where you dissolve the individuality in the total. That is called absolute love. Right? And the moth in love enters the flame and gives itself fully. That's called love. Real bhakti. It's not giving means ready to give up that notion of individuality. Thereafter, you see only Brahman everywhere. You only see Brahman in everything. Right? First, initially, you see the world. Then you see Brahman everywhere. Then finally, you become Brahman. There is no seeing. Both the seer and the seen merges. That is called Sarvatma Bhava worship. A true devotee, after standing in the queue in Balaji for so many hours, and when he gets closer to Bhagavan, they actually push them. Jargandi, they push the fellow. You understand? In spite of all that, he is closing his eyes. Other fellows, they see, hey, the diamond in the crown, did you see? Are baapre. Did you see this necklace? Did you see this? Did you see that? This fellow didn't see anything. He went there, he closed his eyes. All he knows is, he closed his eyes. By the time he came, he opened his eyes, he was outside the temple. They pushed him out. You understand? That is true devotion. So he says, all-knowing, Sarvavit, and he worships with Sarvatma Bhava. In the final stage, what happens? The individuality merges in the total. So initially, you see Brahman in everything. Then you see everything in Brahman. Everything as Brahman. Then you become Brahman. It's called Sarvatma Bhava. So this is why it beautifully explains. It is Kshara, it is Akshara, it is Uttama Purusha. God is not an object of comprehension. It is a subjective apprehension. If you are there, God cannot be. If you want God to be, then you have to not be. And you should be ready for the sacrifice of this false ego notion with the knowledge. That kind of worship, bhav, is called Sarva Atma Bhava. He beautifully puts, and then what's the benefit ultimately by all this I'll get? You get the total, right? You yourself become Paramatma. That he explains in the next sloka. So in this sloka, apart from what he said in the previous sloka, by knowing this, you become undeluded. When you are not in the samsara, to be undeluded is easy. Being in it and be undeluded is difficult. Right? So once you gain this knowledge, even though you are in it, you will still remain undeluded by it. Children, when we take them to the movie, even adults, we get involved. We only book the tickets. We bought the tickets. We bought the popcorn also along with it. We went there, we sat down. And as the movie started, we started getting involved in it. We get deluded by it. We go through so many emotions. Right? But once you know this whole thing, what we discussed in 16, 17, 18, you remain undeluded. You will always be identifying with that all-knowing principle, the Atman, the knowing principle. What is known, you don't identify. The knowing principle, you identify. And you have become one with it. Worship. Worship means identification. See, you may be in the mandir. Doesn't mean that you are worshipping God. In the mandir, what is in your head, I don't know. What they're going to give us prasad, if it is, that is what in your head. all those people who don't come to the class online, in person, missing Sonia's prasad. We don't know. Don't tell us to send it by that Blinkit and all that. You understand? So the thing is, here she gives prasad after the class. I put the thought in you now. So you may think, Arey, what prasad she'll be giving today? Sir, can you please send it to my address? So you may be thinking of that. Doesn't mean that you are a bhakta. Where is the identification? You understand? That is real worship. So he says, Sarvatma Mam Bhajati. One who worships me fully, with Sarva Bhavena, complete bhav, with that surrender attitude, totally identified with Brahman. They are worshipping Brahman for the sake of merging with Brahman. And such persons become totally undeluded. What is the ultimate fruit they'll get? Is concluding. In fact, next to shloka number 20, the last shloka is a summary. Is concluding.
Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam maya nagha etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata.
Thus, iti means thus, is concluding. This most secret science, guhya, uttamam guhya, means most secret science, shastram, science. Idam uktam mayanaga. This has been told to you by me, O Anaga. He calls Arjuna as Anaga, means sinless fellow. Thus, this most secret science has been declared by me, O Anaga, O Arjuna. Okay. Knowing this, what happens? Why should I know this? What will happen to me? Knowing this, one becomes wise. One becomes wise means one continues living in the world. Suddenly you don't vanish. You continue living in this world. Right? But don't get trapped in anything. You remain untainted by anything. Remain absolutely undiluted and untainted. And you become fulfilled of all duties, O Bharata. O Arjuna, you become absolutely free from all duties. Doesn't mean that you become lazy, lethargic. What it means is you get that absolute satisfaction. Ultimately, whatever you do, you don't get the satisfaction. So here, real satisfaction comes. You have achieved everything. Nothing remains to be achieved. Thereafter, your actions won't be for achieving anything. Thereafter, your actions will be an expression of achievement. You won't do things to fulfill anything. You will act out of fulfillment. You won't do anything to find happiness. You will be acting out of happiness. That is what is called this Krita Krita Jnana. So he says, what is the Jnana Phalam? What is the use of this Shastra? What will happen when you know this Shastra? Why does he call it, first of all, as, Guhya, secret, Rahasyam? Means it's very subtle, very rarely known. It is very deep. So nobody wants to put in that effort. Very few people go to that extent. And the Shastram means what? What is Shastram? I told you, teach and protect. What does it teach? It teaches you the goals of life and the ultimate goal of all goals. Purushartha. And how to achieve that, sadhana. You understand? That is Shastra. It teaches the goal and the path to get there. It gives us direction. So, when you gain this knowledge, this Guhya Tamam, Guhya Uttamam Shastram, science. You gain this supreme secret science which I have given you. What will happen to you? He says you become Buddhiman. At the intellect level, you become extremely wise. And at the mind level, you become totally satisfied. You find in the world, after having achieved everything, when they are on the deathbed also, they feel very dissatisfied. ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया, ये करना है, वो करना. That satisfaction is never there. The only way you can really become kritakritagnya is by knowing what ought to be known. Then you feel my duty is done. There is no requirement for me to come back. I have not lived my life totally. There won't be any complaint. I didn't live my life totally. Can you give me another chance? Supposing you get out in cricket playing a rash drive. You understand? Outside the off stump delivery is going. Right? Instead of leaving it, you're going and touching and nicking it and you're caught in the slip. Right? And supposing the ball happened to be no ball. That means what? You got another chance. At least you should not do that again. The very next ball, supposing which is normal right ball, an outgoing delivery, you go and nick it. What would you be called? Fool. At least the next delivery, you should control yourself. You understand? So, you become absolutely wise and totally satisfied. Thereafter, there remains nothing to be done by you. Nothing to be done by you means you don't have any obligations to do this or that. There is no desire in your personality. What you are left with is what? Just prarabdha vasanas. Right? And that person merely functions out of love with total satisfaction. So thereafter that person gets that he involved or he gets into any action just for the sake of it. And he does it with full focus. He's not attached to it that I must get the result. The fact that he is giving his 100% into it without attachment, obviously he'll get the result. So kritakritagnya means total satisfaction. So you get absolute satisfaction only upon enlightenment, nowhere else. By knowing this secret. Knowing this secret means not intellectual knowing. When with sarvatma bhava you worship, then you become Brahman. And when you become Brahman, what happens to you? And after you happily you live in this world with no albatross around your neck. Now there is a big albatross across my neck. There is no albatross across my neck. But you will function in the world as if there is an albatross across my neck. Around my neck, sorry. Around my neck there is albatross now. ये करना, वो करना, हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, पता नहीं क्या होगा. You understand? हाँ, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. No emergency, no urgency. But does it as if everything is urgent. You understand? It then becomes tamasha. That is what is called as kritakritagnya. That total satisfaction is the benefit you get. You become absolutely liberated. You remain a buddhiman, not get trapped or tainted by anything. Oh Bharata. This is the benefit, phalam, you get of this understanding. So why is mentioning this? Because you have to go over this concept of Kshara, Akshara, Uttama Purusha again and again and again. So then you don't get involved in Kshara or Akshara. You also will be like Brahman. To that extent, you will also be not tainted. Any big thing comes also, small thing comes also, no problem. Otherwise, slightest challenge, you get involved and affected. This is the benefit. Let's conclude.
Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchadashodhyayah.
This conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, Yoga Shastra, which helps in liberating, attaining Brahman, the Brahma Vidya. The discussion Samvada in that 15th chapter called Purushottama Yoga is concluded. Concluded means what? We in our class, we tell ourselves, we have not concluded, we have just begun. Because we have to go through it again and again till transformation happens in us. So we believe that we just began. With that understanding, let us chant shloka number 1.
श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमधःशाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्.
Let's conclude the class now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.